Thank you for joining me. Welcome to the Invictus Energy shareholder briefing. This morning we have released an announcement detailing a strategic investment by the Mutapa Investment Fund, the Sovereign Wealth Fund of Zimbabwe, and also the finalisation of the Petroleum Production Sharing Agreement. So for those of you that haven't had an opportunity to read the announcement, it is available on our website as well as the ASX. So this strategic investment by the Mutapa Investment Fund, who are underwriting $5 million out of a $10 million capital raise at a price of 10 cents per share. So this is a fantastic outcome for the company and for the project on a number of fronts. Firstly, Mutapa Investment Fund have been designated by the Zimbabwe government to be the participant on behalf of the government and its citizens in the project from an equity perspective. So Mutapa will have an equity share in the project once they exercise a back-in right within 6 months of final investment decision to develop the project. They will also be the recipients of the either production or profit share of the project. So Mutapa, as our future partners in this project, have committed to supporting the project, which is very welcomed, and also they have been empowered to conclude the production sharing agreement. So significant on two fronts. Mutapa have decided to invest not only because they're going to be future equity participants, but they have an ability now to accelerate and amplify their investment through becoming a shareholder in Invictus. So the partners in this project are aligned, government are aligned with us as well. So it is a fantastic outcome. This placement has been orchestrated by Mangwana, who have the Mangwana Opportunities Fund. They are a long-standing significant shareholder within the company. Our Deputy Chairman, Joe Matizwa, sits on the board of Mangwana, and him and his team have managed to bring in a very comprehensive group of institutional Zimbabwean shareholders and high net worths into this race. So they have also facilitated a secondary listing on the Victoria Full Stock Exchange for this placement. So the primary securities for this listing are going to be held by Mangwana that represent the ASX shares that the company will issue. However, all the placement participants will receive what are known as Zimbabwe depository receipts, which will be traded on the VFX. So the implications of this is that none of this placement is going to be seen on the ASX. There is significant demand in Zimbabwe whilst we've been undertaking this placement, well in excess of what we've gone out for. And so we have limited this. Obviously, we are conscious of dilution, but we've also got a lot of accretive news flow coming up. So we don't want to issue any more shares than we absolutely have to. So the great impact from the VFX secondary listing is that none of that stock will be visible in the market in Australia. But also these are very long-term shareholders. The likes of Mutapa and a number of the pension funds that are investing are not the kind of similar caliber investors that we've had in our previous placements that are looking to trade it on news. These are long-term funds that will be holding the stock for a very long time. So again, it's been nicely tied up between the raise, the significance of Mutapa putting their investment in, but also the insulation that we have in the ASX from the issue of these of the stock. And then also the endorsement that we have from an above ground perspective. I think a lot of people watching the company or investors have been concerned about the production sharing agreement. But as you'll see in this announcement, government have committed to finalising this, and this has been accelerated now that we have the Mutapa Investment Fund involved in the company. So Mutapa was constituted with a board and an executive a few months ago. Their CEO, John Mangutska, there are some comments further down in the announcement, and you can read what he said about it. But I'll just summarize it for you at the moment. Have been now capacitated with some injection of funds from government, quite a significant injection of funds into Motapa. And since John Mngutjka has taken his seat as the CEO of the Sovereign Wealth Fund, we've seen great progress, both on the production sharing agreement, and he's gone and sought approval for Motapa to handle that and the implementation of it, as they're going to they have been designated the recipient of the proceeds of the production sharing agreement and the equity in the project. But on a number of other fronts as well, that provides us with alignment for the project, not only for the upstream part of this project, which we're operating, but also further down in the midstream and the downstream elements as well. So this is a fantastic outcome for the company, and I think everyone can see now that we're all rowing in the same direction. The production sharing agreement will be delivered very shortly, and then we expect very quickly off the back of that also our farm out process, which has been going on in the background to deliver a partner, which will also provide us with an injection of funds from a recovery in some of the back costs that we've incurred, but also significantly funding for a multi-phase work program with multiple work streams, including well testing of further appraisal drilling, 3D seismic, and some new exploration drilling as well in the eastern margin and basin margin. We've got a fantastic portfolio and a position in the Cabora Bassa Basin that we are going to be trying to unlock with an aggressive work program coming up. So the funds and the receipt of these funds will be used to advance the project, including Mukuyu 2 well test and also long leads for the exploration wells for the basin margin and the eastern margin. So we will be concluding this placement over the next week or so. The book build is just completing. It has been a little more complicated than a traditional capital raise on the ASX, just because of the number of moving parts and awaiting for VFX approval, which we have now. And we will be having a ceremony this coming Friday and in Victoria Falls, ringing the bell to undertake the secondary listing of securities on the Victoria Falls Stock Exchange. So it'd be a very nice moment for the company, something that hasn't been able to be done and until very recently, because there was no avenue for us to undertake it as a foreign company trying to raise significant amount of capital in Zimbabwe. The VFX has come along now and shown that it is a great place for for companies operating in Zimbabwe to come and gain support from a lot of the institutional investors. So very grateful to Mangwana and also to Motapa for cornerstoning this raise and undertaking the listing for us. We've also outlined our near-term exploration strategy, our corporate strategy as well, in terms of how we're looking to fund this, capacitating our team, and then our midterm development strategy. So we've got a very sequenced and deliberate path that we're going to be following to realize the value from our project, both in a near term and medium term. So we've laid out a very systematic and comprehensive plan about what we're planning to undertake, and that's going to be in conjunction with a farming partner over the next sort of 18 months to get us to what will be a very, very good position, understanding and quantifying the resource that we have in the basin, and which areas of the basin we're going to be focusing on to deliver an early full field development project, and that's what we're really focused on. So we've got a pilot project that we're studying at the moment in conjunction with some of the well testing activities that we're looking to launch, but we've got our eyes on the full field development and bringing about energy security in the country, and also becoming a producer as well. I think that will transform the company. So looking at some of these major strategic investor groups, spearheaded by Motapa, who's underwriting this raise with $5 million. We have the ability to take up to an additional $5 million, so making it a total of $10 million, which will be used to fund activity in the project, including Mukuyu 2 well test and long leads for the exploration wells. One Gas Resources, our local partner in Zimbabwe, who have a 20% equity stake in the license, have also participated in this raise. So again, we've had a very good, I think, demonstration of support, both from above ground and from our partners, that this is a serious and significant project in the country, and everyone is showing their support. So it is a very, very good outcome. Mangwana have been a long-standing shareholder of ours, as I mentioned earlier. They have provided us with fantastic support in country with the relationships that they have, and have been a key pillar in us being able to progress this project. I think when we first brought them into the company in mid 2020, they also invested at a premium, and from the time that happened, we had a very, very good period from a share price perspective following Mangwana's support. And I think we're heading for a similar period now, where we've put all of the significant building blocks together. This has been a big foundation stone that has gone in with this, and I think people will now start to realize that these milestones that we continually tick off always get delivered. I think as a company, we have a long and sustained period of delivery of any milestones that we put up. We told everyone that the production sharing agreement was coming, and that there was support in the country. And I think today, and this announcement and this investment demonstrates that. So Mangwana have been a key part of that, and we're very grateful. And then with the Vic Falls Stock Exchange, again, the secondary listing on the Victoria Falls Stock Exchange will facilitate liquidity for local demand that exists in Zimbabwe. There's never been an opportunity like this for local Zimbabweans to invest in the company, and now through our secondary listing on the VFX there is. So that provides us with the backing of everyone in the country, and everyone can accelerate their participation and benefits in this project, rather than having to wait for it to get to the production phase. This provides a pathway for everyone to enjoy the fruits of our labor, and our shareholders, both in Australia and Zimbabwe, who supported us to date. So from a regulatory perspective, we have been very systematically de-risking this from an above ground perspective, with the steps that have been taken by both us and government to ensure that we have a stable and transparent legal and fiscal framework. So the final leg of this will be the implementation of the Petroleum Production Sharing Agreement. And as I mentioned earlier in the call, with Mutapa participating and becoming a shareholder in Invictus, there'll be a shareholder, an equity partner in the project, and also be the beneficiary of the production and profit sharing component, which is dictated by this Petroleum Production Sharing Agreement. Everyone's aligned, and I think everyone can take comfort that will be delivered in the very near term. We'll be finalising the agreement with government and looking to implement it in the very near future, once the final T's are crossed and I's are dotted. Just a reminder of the substantial acreage portfolio that we've built up over the last 3 years, since we've been shooting infill seismic and characterizing the subsurface. So when we first started, this was a pretty blank looking canvas, but through the excellent technical work and great seismic data that we've acquired over the last 3 years, we now have a very enviable portfolio, particularly for a company our size, and with our equity that we have in the license of 80%. So we've done a huge amount of work, and the team has been delivered two discoveries from 2 wells, from the first 2 wells in the basin as well. So a very exciting position to be in, and now we're starting to get back to what we enjoy doing, which is the field activity. So this raise and what's coming in the future puts us in a great position. So we, in terms of the activity, looking at well testing and appraisal in the form of more appraisal drilling in Mukuyu and 3D as well over the Mukuyu field to better characterize the subsurface and help us pick appraisal and development well locations in the future. And then we have 2 very significant untested plays in the form of this eastern margin, which we have matured over the last few months following the seismic acquisition we undertook last year, and then the basin margin play as well. So we've got a great portfolio. We've got a lot of excitement and activity ahead of us. And to do that through bringing in a partner, we are looking at a very busy period coming up ahead of us over the next 18 months or 2 years to really unlock the value that we have out of this significant portfolio that we've put together. The near-term strategy, I think from a regulatory and funding point of view, we have, we've just about ticked this off. I think you could pretty much take that to the bank in terms of being done with the Petroleum Production Sharing Agreement. The resource quantification will be an ongoing activity because we've got such a big portfolio and it's a lot to digest. That's going to mature over time with Mukuyu and also the Basin Margin and Eastern Margin plays. That'll also be informed through appraisal and exploration results. So the team have been very busy in the background preparing for this upcoming appraisal and exploration campaign. I think just because it's been a quiet period from a market perspective where there hasn't been much field activity, I think in the background, those who know will appreciate it once it comes through that with the contracting and commercial work that we've been doing, the technical work that we've been doing in terms of refining well designs, resetting our commercial contracts with service companies, our future wells are going to cost us 40% less than what we've been drilling them for, which is a significant saving. And particularly when we're going into a multi-well campaign coming up, this is going to start to pay dividends, all of this work that has been going on in the background. And then the commercial and monetization aspects, we've been progressing in parallel, developing an early pilot project with the Eureka Gold Mine, which is 50 kilometers away from us, which will provide us with a proof of concept that we can produce gas, get the approvals to develop it and send it to our customers, sell it and get paid. And that will provide our lenders for the future full field developments and phases of the project that we've proven the concept, and from there we're just scaling up in terms of the number of wells that we need and the processing facilities. So we've got a very sequenced commercialization strategy that I'll touch on right at the end. And then on the commercial funding, again, I think we've got a long and sustained period of delivery when it comes to delivering milestones. And today, the first plank of this has been the strategic partners in country, which we've delivered. And we're also looking at closely following that with an upstream JV partner to bring that to the table. And now that we've got some of this above ground stuff and providing security for other investors to be comfortable that in a country that no one else has ever operated in, that their investment is safe and stable over the life of the project. So the team have been very busy on the farm out front, and that we're looking to deliver that in the very near term, which will then set us up for a very exciting work program coming up. So again, we've ticked off this first plank. We're focusing on the immediate term and on the left-hand side here with upstream JV partners and strategic partners. And then in the longer term, looking at downstream customers and regional banks as we're going into the fuller field developments, which are going to require more funding, but also the downstream customers to anchor those projects as well. So we have we've ticked off a very important milestone today, but there are more to come. And then finally, on the commercialization and monetization pathways. So firstly, the appraisal and further exploration to build the resource base and underpin future development phases. The first one will be the pilot development with Eureka. And it's a very elegant scheme. They are just down the road from us, just over the backside of the escarpment, with existing grid infrastructure that connects them very nearby to where the Mukuyu field is. So within 2 to 3 kilometers of the Mukuyu 2 well, but also quite central in terms of Mukuyu as an overall structure, remembering that it's 200 square kilometers in area. So that will provide that proof of concept for our future development phases. And then with phase 2, looking at a larger scale full field gas to power development, and again, utilizing that infrastructure where we can sell it to a variety of customers. I think, again, with gas, very important because we're not going to be tied into big infrastructure spend in terms of pipelines and one single end user, which provides, or I should say presents sometimes counterparty risk in the eyes of your lenders who are going to be funding the bigger phases of the project. With gas to power and the region that we're located in, we can then distribute that to a number of end users from that are very creditworthy, big mining houses, not only in Zimbabwe but in the rest of the region as well, which will then and using the existing Southern Africa power pool grid infrastructure. So that means that it's a much easier development than I think it will typically be had by any onshore gas project in the world, really, not only just on the continent. So that's a very good first full field development. And then phase 3, as the gas market develops in the country, we'll then be looking at pipe gas into the industrial heart of the country, underpinned by several chemicals, but also there are a number of other very large projects of very hungry end users that will support the development of that midstream infrastructure in the form of a pipeline, and then looking at, depending on the ultimate size of the resource, potentially even somewhere else in the region, particularly down to the South African gas market, which is starved and coming into significant deficit with the rolling off of some of those legacy fields that have been supplying the South African gas market. So we've got a very deliberate and sequenced strategy from an appraisal point of view, near term, and building the resource base across our acreage portfolio, and then a very clear commercialization pathway that we'll be following to unlock the value from our fantastic portfolio that we've amassed in the Cabora Bassa Basin. So yeah, today's been, I think, a very important development in the history of the company, demonstrating that we have the support of government, of the Sovereign Wealth Fund as our future partner in the license and beneficiary of the production sharing aspect in the form of product or profit from the project in the future, and then also from some of our strategic partners in Zimbabwe, such as Mangwana and One Gas as well. So thank you to everyone for taking the time to listen to this. It's going to be a very exciting period ahead for the company. As I said, today is a great milestone, but we've got plenty more to come, and it has been a worthwhile period in the background whilst we've been working on all of this, and there's quite a few developments to come, and so it's great to be able to finally put this out, and looking forward to joining a number of our colleagues and investors on Friday at the Victoria Falls Stock Exchange to ring the bell for a secondary listing for the company. So thank you. Take care, and looking forward to speaking with you in the very near future with some exciting developments coming up for the company.